Right now, we welcome Congressman Tim Burchett back to the show on the Murphy Hotline to talk about some of the devastation over in East Tennessee and what we can do to assist. Tim, it is good to talk to you. Good afternoon.
Hey, thank you for having me. And I will say TEMA, out of all those organizations in the country, is they run a pretty tight ship. I know a lot of myths are out there on the internet. And, I've been on the phone with Jeremy Faison up there. He's a state rep. And a lot of this stuff is just folks that aren't there, and they're retweeting news stories that aren't accurate, and they're not in Tennessee even. The complaints seem to be coming from the North Carolina side. So I've been dealing with that all day myself.
Well, there's a lot of, and I have too, Tim, there's a lot of confusion, and obviously there's a tremendous amount of chaos when you see something descend upon your state that has been truly unprecedented. I'll start here. I heard a comment from the governor, I guess, yesterday or the day before, and it really struck home with me because someone asked Governor Bill Lee, why did we not prepare better for this? And Governor Lee's response was, how do you prepare for something that's never happened before? I'll ask you, based on what you've seen and based on your experience, have you ever seen anything like this in East Tennessee?
No, I've lived here my whole life, and it's primarily Upper East Tennessee. What happened, the rain wasn't so much here, it was in North Carolina. And then when it came down those mountains, it just, it snowballed. It's just gravity, and it had to go somewhere, and it went down through those hollers. And those hollers a lot of them happened to be in Tennessee, and it just washed out those poor country folks. And there is no way to prepare for something like this. And so we're doing what Tennesseans do best. We're taking care of our own. We're not waiting on the federal government, and that's why a lot of folks are getting taken care of that if they were in another state or another part of the country, they wouldn't be.
Do you have any idea about, your district? Sure. I think, help me understand the lines, because it's how much of your district was affected, Tim? I know you don't care. You worry about the entire state and really the entire region that has been affected, right. And I understand that. But just help me understand, like, from your district on up until the northeastern corridor, because you don't extend all the way up there.
Yeah, Granger County got some flooding, but primarily it's all Upper East, which is Diana Harshberger's district, up towards the border between us and North Carolina. Our district, thank God, was not affected. It was like a major rain event in some areas, but nothing compared to, pales in comparison to what happened in the upper east of Tennessee, because those people, like I said, communities are just wiped off the map.
We have an election coming up in November. There's some concern about whether or not North Carolina can get set up. I expect maybe there's a little bit of concern in the easternmost portion of Tennessee as to whether or not we can get that reset and make sure that these elections go off without a hitch. But you announced a couple of days ago, and I took notice of this, that you were kind of pausing anything that you were doing from an election standpoint because, just talk to us about your decision to do that.
Yeah, well, fundraising, I'm still knocking on doors on days I'm available to, but we quit fundraising because that's what these people have to have. We've got to send available funds up there. And I just think it's kind of disingenuous on my part to be out here asking people for money for something as peddling as a congressional election when people's lives are literally on the line. And groups like Samaritan's Purse and the East Tennessee Foundation, Salvation Army do such great work. And that $50 or $100 or that $5 could mean so much to them. It might be the difference between literally life and death for some people. And so I would urge people to be real cautious. If somebody's calling you, asking you for a donation, don't give it to them. Hang up. Don't engage them one bit. Don't give them your credit card number. Don't give them a second of your time, because they're dirt bags. And there's a hotter hell for people like that. And the known groups, like I said, Salvation Army, Samaritan's Purse, and places like that really are doing the Lord's work, that are taking care of people up there. Those are the ones I would give to. And I just, like I said, I just felt it'd be very disingenuous for me to be out there asking people for their hard-earned dollars when they could really go somewhere else. So, I'm still knocking on doors and going to events when I can, but I just felt like those priorities need to go elsewhere. And and I have no way of judging how much money these groups got because of this, but I would assume they're doing pretty good because I talked to some of them and they said that their small dollar donations from this area and around this area are way up. So that makes me feel good about that decision.
You mentioned that you've been in contact with the TEMA director and other officials. What are they saying that they need more than anything? I mean, what are you hearing, Tim, about the current necessity? I mean, clearly it's an odd thing that we're in kind of recovery mode, but we're also really in rescue mode for some people because this is a mountainous, most of us have been over to East Tennessee. We get it. We understand the mountains of North Carolina, the Blue Ridge Mountains and all of that, but maybe for the few that haven't, just try to help us understand that the rescue continues even a week later.
Oh, 100%. There's people that are still trapped back up in those hollers up on the mountainside that can't get out. And roads are completely washed out. Driveways, everything is gone. They have no way to do it. And some of them are getting back there with mules and horses and four-wheel drive. And there's a lot of confusion, too, over the helicopters coming in and the refusal to allow them there. And like I said, a lot of that's in North Carolina. But part of the problem is that these helicopters they're bringing in are not equipped to carry in supplies. There might be one or two people. And so they go in there with two, they leave one on the ground, they take two out, they have to come back and get like maybe one of their pilots. They can't carry much more than a case of bottled water. And two, we're going to end up, I'm afraid, people that are well-meaning, we're going to end up having to rescue them that we're trying to rescue people. So I'm very cautious of being too critical of what I'm seeing on the internet. I saw one where a person was complaining about they couldn't get supplies, they had no electricity, and then in the back I saw their television was on, and so you got to watch out for the scammers. I don't know if this person was scamming or not, and they're replaying over and over and over news reports that are either inaccurate or not from our area, and they're easily disproved. And, I put my phone number out on the internet again. I said, I want specifics, not...
I did the same thing, Tim, not interrupt. I did the same thing. I put my cell number out and I said, anyone that has witnessed, and I just want to go right to it. The rumors are that TEMA, I'm not speaking about FEMA. FEMA, they could, screw up. Well, I'm talking about
they
TEMA.
Will screw up.
FEMA screws everything up, and I don't trust FEMA as far as I can throw them, but whatever. But the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency and the people that run, I understand that it's a tough time. I understand there's a lot of chaos, and I understand that sometimes emotions are going to run high in these situations. But the rumor is that they're seizing and confiscating donations.
That is just not true. They have no apparatus to do that. And I keep saying, show me the specifics. Show me where this is happening. Not some internet story that their third cousin told them. And, and I can't speak for the military. That's a different thing. But TEMA, they're Tennesseans, folks. They are not, they're not a bunch of folks that they brought in from Washington, D.C. These are usually native Tennesseans. These people worked up through the system. They understand this country, where we're from, and the type of people we are. They are not seizing people's funds. I don't know how they'd even go about doing that. Actually, I don't know what apparatus they use. All I got to tell you is I've talked to Jeremy Faison, who's the state rep up there, and Diane Harshbarger, who's the congresswoman. They are both day and night working, and they can't find any indications of this. That there's a video of a truck of an 18-wheeler turning around because the road's washed out, and somebody's saying, "Well, they're being forced to go back." Well, they're being forced to go back because there's no road. They don't. Right. They're not capable of crossing a riverbed or a washed out bridge. And the problem with that is that good-hearted volunteers are sending stuff up there, and they don't know where to go, and they want to do something, and they're frustrated. And then when they see that, and then they've got somebody up there sending people up there that don't know the terrain or where they're supposed to be, and they have to block a road, that causes a complete foul-up in the distribution of goods. And, early on I got with the Hand family over here. Ray and Lucy are dear friends. They own the Anheuser-Busch Budweiser they'd already had cans of water on the road, bottled water, and they were delivering it up there. And they went through the proper process. They got to the people, and they got to where it needed to be. And I'll tell people, just take a breath. If you can't do anything, send a check to one of those groups that we said, not any of the scammers. I'm not too crazy about some of these national organizations, but that's me personally. Mm-hmm. But Samaritan's Purse, Salvation Army, that's if you're really frustrated, get a hold of them and say, I want to direct this money to this. And dadgummit, they'll do it, because they got a level of accountability that's better than most.
Well spoken. Congressman Tim Burchett, our guest. One more question unrelated to Hurricane Helene, and that is to deal with the longshoreman strike, which is creating, I don't know, you know how it goes, Tim. The first thing people worry about is gasoline. The second thing people worry about is toilet paper. And I think the combination of people wanting to buy toilet paper to give as a donation to some of these drop-off points for East Tennessee and Western North Carolina. In addition to that, people are worried about this strike that, the Biden administration seemed to not see coming, and they seem to be siding with union workers that were offered. It's my understanding this contract that they were offered was a 50% pay raise over the next 6 years, and they are holding out for 77% of a pay raise. Is that not accurate?
That is 100% accurate. And the head group, he lives in a $multi-million mansion. He drives a Bentley. He makes about $900,000 a year, and he's saying how he's going to cause devastation across this country. And I'll tell you what, if he's still around and they're pulling this garbage when Trump's in the White House, there'll be a new head of that union. I can tell you that, because remember what Reagan did to the air traffic controllers, tried to shut the country down, and here we are in the middle of a natural disaster. They are tone deaf to the room, and so is Kamala Harris in this White House by saying they're not going to intervene. What the hell are they thinking? There are people suffering right now. Put your union allegiance aside. Be a human being for once. And this penance of $750 when we've given $200 billion to Ukraine. We put over $1 billion into illegals in this country. And Mayorkas comes back and I voted against FEMA this last time because of this nonsense and all this garbage they're doing. And now the same people that are mad at me about that are coming back saying, I can't believe they gave them $1 billion. Why can't you do something about it? I said, well, more people would vote to shut their ass down. Excuse my language. I've had 2 Mountain Dews this morning and a cup of coffee.
I like it. But I like the passion,
Tim.
Tim.
If they would vote to shut them down and bring them to the table, we'd have a different situation. President Trump called me last Tuesday, and we had a very nice long conversation about Tennessee and how much he loves Tennessee and how well we're doing over here, and it was prior to this national calamity up in Upper East and North Carolina and Georgia. But he talked to me about the efficiencies in government and how that we've got to get somebody, and he was talking about working with Elon to do that stuff. And we've got to have that commitment. We've got to have the commitment to shut these organizations down and rebuild them, because we're not going to reconstruct them from within, because they are rotten to the core.
You're right.
We've got to straighten this stuff out.
The inmates are running the asylum in many of these institutions. I got to leave it there, Tim. So. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you're doing for your district and the rest of East Tennessee, the rest of Tennessee. We'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
Thanks, brother.
All right, take care. There's Congressman Tim Burchett back in a moment on Super Talk.